Hi, and welcome back to the channel and another weekly live stream. I am so excited to be here with y'all. Mercury is definitely retrograde now, so let me know in the comments. My speech has been not great. Let me know in the comments where you have Sagittarius and Scorpio in your chart. If you know where to look for early degrees, Sagittarius, and late degrees, Scorpio. Let me know if you have any placements there in your chart as well, because that's where this Mercury retrograde will be moving over. For me, it's opposite my Venus, my chart ruler, and going to be moving over my Pluto and North Node in Scorpio because it started today, a few hours ago, at 6 degrees Sagittarius, and then it will move back to 20 degrees of Scorpio. We're talking about that more in my membership. And if you want help understanding where it's going to be based on your chart, the membership is the place to do that. Post your chart, get questions, ask questions, get answers. So what I meant to say, see what I mean? Mercury's retrograde now in my third house of communication. So I think I might have talked about this last week or in something I did recently where maybe it was in my full moon workshop and my membership. I feel like this one has really been affecting me because I don't know. I just can't. I don't know. I'm like, see, this is what I mean. Like, I feel like my speech is just weird. So, anyways, that's the major thing we have. One of the major things we have going on this week. We also have Jupiter going retrograde, I believe, on Tuesday. We have a harmonization, a trine. We're going to have a grand trine later this week, over the weekend, I believe, between the Sun and Scorpio, Jupiter and Cancer, and Saturn in Pisces. Once Jupiter goes retrograde, which retrogrades are not bad, we're just going to reevaluate how Jupiter and Cancer has showed up for us thus far. So it will affect the area of life in your chart, the house that Cancer rules the most. We're going to look at that in the horoscopes for your rising sign. And then, like I said, we have Mercury retrograde. We have Venus, Mars, or I'm sorry, not Venus, Mercury and Mars. This is what I mean. I'll have to slow down my speech because I'm saying things wrong. Mercury and Mars conjunction, which will be interesting in Sagittarius because whenever Mercury is in Sagittarius, it's not comfortable there. It doesn't like to be in Sagittarius. Mercury likes to be in Gemini. Mercury likes to be in Virgo. Mercury does not like to be in Sagittarius. So whenever it is in Sagittarius, our speech already gets a little wonky. We can more easily put our foot in our mouth, all those kinds of things. And now it is retrograde. So we are reevaluating that energy and asked to slow down so we can reassess and really act from a place of alignment as opposed to, whenever Mercury's in a fire sign, we want to act, we want to do, we want to just like throw our qualms to the wind and just do things. And with Mercury retrograde in a fire sign, we are being asked to slow that down and really check in before we make super spontaneous decisions. So that's what kind of the whole month of November is going to be like, because Mercury doesn't leave retrograde until November 29th, basically the end of the month. So yeah, that is one of the major themes of this week because we have the Mars conjunction with Mercury. Uranus has moved back into Taurus now. And I think those are the major movements, the major themes of this week is really evaluating how our beliefs and our thoughts play into our actions. Mercury and Mars, whenever they join up, that's really what is going on is are my actions aligning with what I want for myself, or am I acting out of these old patterns or these old belief systems and old cycles that I don't want to perpetuate and I don't want to continue? We're really reevaluating how our actions and our words line up or not so that we refine our words or actions to make them line up. and getting more clarity as the week progresses on what we need in order to do that. A big theme of this week as well is going to be remembering our joy and cultivating what brings us joy and fun and playful energy, as the moon is going to start off in Leo. And with Jupiter retrograde in Cancer, big focus on refining and reevaluating how we're nurturing and taking care of supporting ourselves in our expansion through what brings us joy. So, those are the major themes of this week. We're going to get into the horoscopes now. We're going to start with Aries as always. So, Aries Rising, we start the week off. I'm on the wrong week. Mercury retrograde. Just all out of sorts. Okay, Aries Rising, we start the week off with the moon in Leo. It's going to be in your area of creativity, of passion. So, double what I spoke about in the beginning of this video. What is going to bring you passion and what maybe needs to, or creativity or joy or playfulness? What do you need to focus on in order to have more of those things in your life? Maybe there's a transformation you need to make within yourself or within your friend groups in order to have that. That's more aligned with your values and more aligned with what's changing about yourself moving forward. As we get into Tuesday, we have Jupiter going retrograde in your fourth house. You might be reevaluating a home or living situation or something going on with family, maybe expansion of family in some way, or expansion of what you need to feel supported at your core, at your foundations. So, with Jupiter retrograding through your fourth house, there's a reevaluation of all of that and how you can better support yourself with your home or with your family or with just what feels supportive to you and your foundations. Also on Tuesday, the moon, we have a third quarter moon in Leo. So again, what do you need in order to bring more joy into your life? What do you need to take action on as it relates to a creative passion or project? Maybe this is the momentum to do something, to act on something as it relates to what you're creating or what you're sharing with the world that is a passion or has been a passion of yours, and realigning with more. Tuesday and Wednesday, we have the Mars Mercury conjunction in your ninth house. So, big themes of taking action on refining some sort of mindset or refining some sort of belief system that maybe has been contributing to some unhealthy patterns around what you're doing as it relates to there's just so much subconscious stuff for you, Aries, especially this week. And you might get a lot of mental clarity around what needs to change in your perspective or your philosophies of life or your belief systems or your relationship with spirituality in order to kind of have a better understanding of what's coming up for you, or go deeper into like your inner child or something into your subconscious to like really look at these things so you can heal whatever's been a repeating pattern for you, and not have it go with you into the new year, is kind of the energy that's coming up on Wednesday. There could also be something that happens around money or with your finances. Maybe there's this focus on playfulness and joy and creative passions, but it also challenges your money in some way or beliefs around money in some way. That will be a theme for you to look at on Wednesday. Then on Thursday, there could be some sort of emotional release around that, and maybe what you have been doing for work that you've been maybe really attached to. There could be something that you get emotional clarity around that you want to release or you want to let go of as it relates to what you're doing for work or what you're doing to really take care of yourself as well. Again, it's all kind of about this week self-care and what you're doing to have joy in your life, and what needs to be let go of, what patterns or routines or belief systems or mindsets you need to let go of in order to have this new path, this new chapter that you have been stepping into. It's getting further clarity about what else is going on that you need to look at and reframe and shift. As we get into Friday, the moon is going to add tension to Saturn and Neptune in your 12th house. So, again, there could be more emotional stuff that comes up, subconscious themes or belief systems. Again, that's really calling for you to reframe them, to look at them at a deep way, so that you don't keep reenacting the same things that maybe just haven't been super beneficial for you. Friday into Saturday, there could be something as well that comes up you get emotional clarity around as it relates to money or work, and maybe how to think outside the box to do things differently. and move into a new direction with stuff. As we get into Saturday, the moon moves into Libra, into your area of relationships, harmonizes with Pluto. This could be a good weekend to go out with friends, to spend time with friends, maybe just to lighten the mood, because it does feel like a lot of deep work was coming up all week, or deep things for you to really just love on about yourself, or what's going on underneath the surface. And so kind of feels like there's a need to lighten up over the weekend, and maybe spend some time with friends, and that could help shift this energy as well, and shift the heaviness of the transformation you're in. Maybe that's one of the things that came up for you that you need in order to support yourself and have more joy. And then Sunday, there could be something around that that gets triggered in you again as it relates to your identity, your sense of self, as the moon is going to add tension to Chiron in your first house. So that this could be a relationship or somebody in your life kind of brings up a wound, and maybe also helps you to see how much work you have done to shift these old patterns so that you're not triggered in the same way that you would have been before. So that's the week I had for you, Aries. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. All right, Taurus Rising. We start the week off with the moon in Leo in your fourth house of home. There could be some sort of transformation you're making within your home or within family. Maybe that needs you're realizing you need to focus more on joy with all of those things. It could add tension though to something that's going on with your relationships and maybe your career as well, a transformation that's happening there. It's kind of like there's a lot of heaviness in the areas of relationship and career, but the release of it is through you, maybe self-care in some way. Again, what do you need to like feel pleasure and feel joy in your life? More of those things. Big theme of Monday for you. As we get into Tuesday, Jupiter goes retrograde in your third house. You may be starting to reevaluate or reassess themes related to communication. Maybe even your routine as well could be going through some changes of like, okay, well, I did this and I know it really helps me to ground. It helps me to just feel nurtured and feel supported through all of this transformation that's happening and all this kind of chaos around me. Like, this is what I need in order to feel grounded and supported. And so there could be a big reevaluation that happens at the beginning of the week around what you need in your routine to take better care of yourself. And then on Tuesday, you might have to kind of ask for help around that, or you might have to take action on something to make that happen in your life, within your home, within your relationships, to have that kind of shift and have space to prioritize that thing that you need to take better care of yourself and your health. As we get into Wednesday, we have the Mars Mercury conjunction in your eighth house. This could bring up a lot of themes within your psyche, your subconscious. This could also trigger kind of spiritual awakening or transformation of your belief systems, of what's going on underneath the surface. There could be stuff that's brought up that's like, oh, I didn't realize like this was playing into that, and blah, blah. I need to shift that, or I need to look at that differently. Because also on Wednesday, the moon is challenging Uranus. That's now back in Taurus in your first house. So there's this revisitation of changes to your sense of self, your identity. And on Wednesday, that might be challenged by your belief systems and also by what's going on within your home or within your family. There's a lot of kind of deeper subconscious stuff coming up for you right now that all kind of comes to a head this week. And then as we get into Thursday, the moon moves into Virgo and over the south node. There could be an emotional release of something you've been creating, something you've been wanting to put out into the world. And maybe there's this pattern you're realizing of self-criticism or perfectionism as it relates to that. And there's this big emotional release or opportunity for that on Thursday, to really have a release of this mindset around what you're doing, maybe kind of just see things differently, as it relates to what you're putting out into the world, what you're creating. There could be an emotional an emotional release of some mindset that hasn't helped you in the creation of whatever it is that you're creating and putting out into the world. As we get into Friday, the moon is going to harmonize with Uranus in your first house. This could be kind of an aha moment, but it could also add attention to what's going on within your community or with your social media, or maybe even like add attention to a long-term goal that you've had that's shifting and you're realizing, okay, well, I don't want to move in this direction anymore. I want to move in this direction. And there was an emotional release around that on Thursday. And then as we get into Friday, there could be this aha moment around it, but you might require you to kind of do things differently or prioritize something in order to make it happen that you didn't maybe expect for. As we get into Saturday, the moon moves into Libra, into your sixth house, harmonizes with Pluto in your 10th. So this could be more emotional clarity around what's going on in your work, what's going on in your career, again, related to the creative projects you're doing, or maybe putting on the back burner to make time for other stuff. It does feel like there's this emotional kind of clarity around what's going on in your work, and maybe some collaborations coming in, maybe some working with people or spending time around people to get more, it kind of gives you more clarity on what's going on in your career that maybe you want to make changes to. As we get into Sunday, there could be something, this kind of aha moment, this emotional healing around some wound in your subconscious, especially that's like kind of been being brought up for the last few weeks. There could be this culmination of clarity around what it is and how to change your perspective of life to finally heal that story, or that wound that's been kind of being poked for quite a while. There could be some resolution around it. So that is the week ahead for you, Taurus. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. All right, Gemini Rising. We start the week off with the moon in Leo in your third house, adding attention to Pluto in your ninth and Venus in your sixth. This could kind of bring up some things around your day-to-day routine that maybe you're doing that haven't been benefiting you or where you're headed. That could be related to work as well. It could feel like there's a lot of tension or there's a lot of challenges and conflict between what you need in your day-to-day to feel fun, to feel playful, to feel creative, what's going on in your work that's maybe changing, and then how your kind of belief systems and perspective of reality is playing in to that as well, and what's changing about that. That's kind of putting pressure on these other areas of life to change as well, if that makes sense. So there could be this uncovering of something in your subconscious that's playing in to all of that and what needs to shift in order to bring more joy into what you do and how you do it. As we get into Tuesday, Jupiter goes retrograde in your second house of money. There could be some reevaluations of how you're making money, what's going on with your finances, your resources, your possessions as well. Maybe downsizing, maybe having this kind of clarity of like, I really need to get rid of a whole lot of stuff. It's also harmonizing with Saturn in your 10th. So that could play into what's going on in your career and really realizing you need to be more disciplined with going in some new direction in your career. And it's related to money or possessions in some way, as well as like your physical health. Whatever that means for you personally, there is some sort of tie into what's going on in your career and money and what's going on with your physical health too. As we get into Wednesday, early on Wednesday, the moon is going to challenge Uranus in your 12th. So this could maybe feel like a chaotic energy again. It's asking for you to reevaluate your foundations in your belief systems and at a subconscious level. That's also playing into what you do on a daily basis. But then later on Wednesday, we have a Mars Mercury conjunction in your seventh house. There could be something that happens within a relationship. Maybe you're reevaluating a relationship. This could be any kind of relationship. It doesn't have to be romantic, but there is something that you're wanting to maybe shift within a partnership or relationship, and you're getting that clarity on, or just really kind of starting to question if this is what you want to be doing with this person, or etc. There's some sort of reevaluation of a relationship or a person in your life. That could also challenge something in your home later on Wednesday as the moon moves into Virgo, into your area of home on Wednesday. And there's I really see you downsizing. I really see you maybe getting rid of a lot of stuff. or really reorganizing your home in some way, because there's like, yeah, there's this all of a sudden like push to do it, because it's going to clear up your energy to focus on other stuff that you actually want to be doing, as opposed to having this in the background of like, I need to do this, but I've been putting it off. It's like, no, you can't put it off anymore. You're really focused on it, especially on Thursday as the moon moves over the south node. You might be releasing a lot of physical possessions, or just releasing a reliance on a home, or releasing something within family. This could be in your mindset as well. There's this big emotional purge that happens on Thursday in your area of home and family. As we get into Friday, there's harmony between the moon in your area of home and Uranus now that's back in your 12th house. So this could, like, you could throw a lot of stuff away, donate a lot of stuff, have a yard sale, and you like feel a lot better emotionally. And you're like, oh, a weight has been lifted. Like, I feel so much more inspired. I feel so much more creative. I feel so much more like tapped into, what I'm doing and how I'm making changes in my work and my career and all this. Like, it just feels like the energy lightens as we get into the weekend, related to whatever you took action on in the week. On Saturday, the moon moves into your fifth house, into your area of creative passions, harmonizes with Pluto in your ninth. So that could propel you into this, again, like this lightness and this differing perspective on life, and this maybe just shift in your creative inspiration and what you're doing. It feels like you're going to have more energy to do the things that you've wanted to do that bring you joy, maybe spend time with people you've wanted to spend time with. It just feels like everything kind of lightens over the weekend. But then on Sunday, there could be something maybe triggering that happens within your community or on social media, that kind of puts tension on what's going on emotionally within your creative projects or passions. Like, maybe somebody says something critical about something you do, and it kind of brings up an identity wound. Um, but that's not going to last forever. And it's just kind of showing you again what is maybe more needed within your mindset to look at and shift and reevaluate, so that that doesn't keep happening. So that's what we got for you, Gemini. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. All right, Cancer Rising. We start the week off with the moon in Leo in your second house of money, adding tension to Pluto in your eighth house. So there could be this emotional shift with your money, with what you're doing for money, maybe even doing things that really more and more putting your focus and energy into things that really bring you joy, really feel fun and playful for you, more than what you have been doing in the past for money. That can also add tension to your what's going on with your creative passions or projects in some way. There could be this kind of feeling of, I don't know how to like go about all of this. I'm realizing I want to do more of this, but I don't know how to make it work or how to structure it, kind of thing. But the energy is like, okay, what is your long-term goal? How do you want to feel? What kind of money do you want to make? Like, focus on the things that like are going to keep you moving in that direction, instead of like the day-to-day stuff that's not really um it'll come when it comes, the day-to-day stuff, but it's like, don't overly focus on it, because it'll keep you in this analysis paralysis. Focus on the joy, right? And there could be some clarity that comes around that, on how to take action on that to move forward on Tuesday, as the moon is going to challenge the sun in your fifth house. There's a big focus on your creative stuff and really putting more energy towards that. And it could surprisingly bring in money in ways you didn't expect as well. Also on Tuesday, Jupiter retrogrades in your area of you. So there could be this whole reevaluation that begins, and refinement that begins on how to take better care of yourself and how to nurture yourself, could be related to what's going on in your career and your money and your work. I think with this Mercury retrograde as well, that we just had start in your area of work, there's going to be a reevaluation on what you're doing for work, or how you're going about what you do for work. There could be something that you take action on around that on Wednesday, whether that's a mindset shift that's triggered, whether that's an actual job shift that's triggered, or just getting more clarity on like, okay, I am going to transition to this thing, but here's my plan, or here's how I'm going to do it. That clarity kind of builds as we get into later into the week. But on Wednesday as well and into Thursday, there could be some emotional challenges between that and maybe what you need to do on a daily basis. Like, again, there's this mind thing that comes in to want to figure it all out, as opposed to just really live from flow, really live from your excitement, as opposed to needing to have all the answers and have everything figured out. Like it will come when it needs to come. Just trust in that your flow and your joy will lead you to it. There could be an emotional release around that on Thursday, or maybe a emotional release related to like overly perfectionistic tendencies or over critical tendencies of yourself, in your mindset, in your communication on Thursday as the moon moves over the south node. There's this big emotional release that happens, and it happens so that you can further move in the direction you're headed and not repeat the patterns of the past. As we get into Friday, the moon is going to harmonize with Uranus, that's now back in your 11th house. So, again, you might get clarity on, okay, this is how I want to move forward. This is like aligned with my long term goals and visions that I have for myself in my life. Like, here's more, answers and clarity about how I want to move forward with it, what I want to do. And it feels like there's a lot of momentum as we end out the week. There's a lot more momentum towards your long-term goal and vision that maybe has changed, as opposed to what you've been doing that hasn't been bringing you joy anymore, or you're lessening your focus on it and moving more into what brings you joy. And there's more clarity as we get into the weekend about how to do all of that. Saturday and Sunday feels like a maybe introspective time. You might be focused on your creative pursuits or passions. You might maybe be spending time at home with people you live with, or with having, people over at your home. You may even be going to like a healing ceremony or something that like allows you to kind of do some deep inner work, is what it feels like. And really maybe love on the things in your mindset that have been coming up that you're realizing you want to shift as it relates to all of these changes and transformations that you're making. And we end out the weekend on Sunday with the moon in your 4th house, adding tension to Chiron in your 10th. So there could be this emotional wound that is brought up, maybe through home or through family or through your career, that kind of puts tension on what's going on with home or family, or vice versa, right? Again, it's these things are coming up so that you see them to be able to shift them, so that they're not playing out in ways that aren't beneficial for you moving forward, and causing more harm than good in this new thing that you're stepping into. So that's the week ahead for you, Cancer. Let me know how it resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Okay, Leo Rising. We start the week off with the moon in your 1st house. This is an emotional renewal of the self, emotional renewal of you. It might put tension on what's going on within your relationships, though, or how your idea of relationships and the people around you is changing and transforming, which both parts of your life could be challenged by what's going on within your home or with family. It feels like maybe you're at the beginning, at the beginning of the week, putting a lot of energy into your career to kind of avoid all the challenges that are coming up in these other areas of your life. But that's kind of just how the energy is on Monday. As we get into Tuesday, that shifts. And we will have Jupiter going retrograde in your 12th house. There might be this need to kind of hermit yourself or remove your energy from certain things or certain people in order to take better care of yourself in ways maybe you have been neglecting. Also on Tuesday, there's challenging Tuesday into Wednesday. There's challenges between what's going on with you emotionally and what's going on in your career. Maybe like you're realizing that changes you made to your career aren't really happening in the ways that you wanted to or thought they would, or it didn't do what you thought it was going to do, kind of thing. And you're realizing, okay, well, where do I go from here? What do I need to change? Do I need to just change my approach to this thing, or do I need to maybe reevaluate the career, or what's going on with your work altogether? That could be a really big focus of this week. Is later on Wednesday, we have the moon moving into your area of money. adding some challenges to the Mercury retrograde that's happening in your area of creative passions or romance, dating as well could be a way that this is showing up for you. Mercury and Mars are joining together on Wednesday and gonna kind of really call for you to look at something as it relates to your mindset around your creative passions, pursuits, maybe what's going on, like I said, with dating or romance as well. That's also kind of challenging your money in some way. And then as we get into Thursday, there could be an emotional release related to money, or maybe you've been overly analytical or critical of what's going on with your finances, and there's this need to kind of release that and just trust more that you'll be supported, because there's really this energy of needing to move in a new direction with your finances and your resources, and trust more and flow, as opposed to if you have been in the past been overly critical, or overly, how do I say that, like wanting to have everything kind of figured out with money. There's this energy of like just trust that you'll be supported, and you will be, as opposed to clinging so hard so much onto the mind, the mental aspect of things. Does that make sense? And with Mercury retrograde in your fifth house, you might be really reevaluating. Um, Maybe there's a mindset shift that needs to occur as it relates to that, maybe from your family, or from somebody you have dated, or maybe there's this kind of starving artist mentality of like, if you have been, you followed the corporate path, and but that like stuck to your soul out of your body and you hated it, and so there's this need to really reevaluate what making money means to you. Um, and trust that what you're led to, what brings you joy, is going to, the money's going to show up. You'll be supported no matter what. There could be a breakthrough around that on Friday. Maybe it requires you to really get serious about a mindset shift as it relates to all of that. And maybe getting more clarity around what's going on in your career that you want to change in some way as well on Friday. As we get into the weekend, Saturday, the moon moves into Libra, harmonizes with Pluto in your seventh. There could be somebody new that you meet over the weekend that really kind of helps you to make the transformations you're realizing you want to make or have been making. There could be a sudden change in just where you're going or who you're talking to on a daily basis as well. Maybe related to like you meet someone new and they do something that seems really fun and seems really like a cool experience, and you want to start doing that more with them, that kind of thing. Could also just be a social weekend for you, and maybe you meet some interesting people as well. But there's also like, don't distract yourself too much with social time, because there's also this need to really be looking at yourself and spending time with yourself, maybe in meditation or yoga, or just like sitting and journaling. um, there's this really big need over the weekend as well to spend a lot of time with you, um, to look at what's going on underneath the surface that's kind of causing all these things to repeat, or these patterns coming up. Especially on Sunday, there might be something that really triggers you in terms of like a perspective, or your belief system is challenged, something like that, for you to really look at. Like, why am I so triggered by this? Or why do I feel this way about this? It's really, take it internally. With these retrogrades, take it internally and look at it. So that's what we got for you, Leo. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Okay, Virgo rising. We start the week off with the moon moving into Leo, into your 12th house, adding tension to Pluto in your sixth. Both are challenging Venus in your third. So this could really be like an emotional look at what's going on underneath the surface that maybe is still kind of creating these frictions or challenges for you. Maybe like, okay, you're spread so thin right now, and it's like, what do I do with my time, what do I do with my energy, and how can I kind of view these things differently in order to make the necessary changes that I need, to still take care of myself and still do the things that I like to do that bring me joy, as opposed to putting all my energy into what people are asking or wanting of me. There's a lot of, since Uranus is back in your ninth house now, there's a lot of these reevaluations happening within your philosophies of life and your perspective and your belief systems, that are going to come up, especially the beginning of the week. As the moon is moving through your 12th house, there's this really big emotional focus on your subconscious and what's going on in your inner world. that maybe just need some attention. It there could also be some change in your home, that you get clarity around Monday or Tuesday as well. As we get into Wednesday, the moon is challenging the sun in your third house. So there could be some more clarity about how to make the necessary changes that you need or have the transformations you need in order to take better care of yourself. Maybe there's this need to revisit your schedule and see, okay, am I really doing things that I love to do? Am I just doing things because I feel pressured to do them because other people are asking me to? Again, it's this really big reevaluation of the subconscious themes that are playing into what you're doing on a daily basis and what needs to change in order to have more joy in your life and more time for you. There's a really big focus on joy this week. Maybe you're even taking a trip that is kind of giving you more clarity on what you need in your daily life to have more joy and to cultivate that energy of excitement and fun, even if you're there's mundane stuff that has to be taken care of as well. It's like, how can I have both? How can I have a little bit more balance with those things? As we get into Thursday, the moon moves into your first house. This is an emotional renewal of the self, of you. It could challenge what's going on with your home or with family in some way too. With Mercury retrograde in your area of home and family, there's a reevaluation of your living space or family dynamics, maybe even childhood stuff, belief systems, again, subconscious stuff that's playing into your experience of life. There's some cleanup. There's some cleanup that's happening and that you're really being called to take action on this week. But there could be some emotional tension with that on Thursday that maybe brings up something in you that needs a focus of cleanup as well, of refinement. There could be on Friday some big emotional release around a sense of self and identity that maybe you've been clinging onto that hasn't been serving you, and you're all of a sudden getting this clarity around that. Now that Jupiter is retrograde in your area of friendships and community, your long term goals, visions, and social media, you might also start to focus this week on what needs refinement around those things for me to really feel nurtured by the people around me, to really feel nurtured, and what I'm doing long term for myself, what really aligns with my vision, and how I need to take care of myself to have it and be and feel supported in it. Those types of things are really going to be a focus with this Jupiter retrograde as well. But on Friday, the main energy is on, okay, kind of further release of an identity, of a self, maybe a belief system that was tied into your identity. As we get into Saturday, there's more energy around that as the moon is going to harmonize with Uranus in your ninth. So there's this emotional momentum towards changing something about you that's also related to what's changing in your perspective of life and your philosophies of life, but there might need to be some greater commitment or discipline to a relationship or to whatever's changing about your relationships and the people around you. There's maybe this call to get more disciplined with maybe even like being vulnerable with the people around you and asking for things that you need more, and that could be related to your identity and what's shifting there, in order for you to really feel supported in your day to day and what you're doing and what's changing about your life overall. Later on Saturday, the moon moves into your second house, putting the emotional focus on your money. It's going to harmonize with Pluto in your area of work, so there could be some shift that happens emotionally with money. There could be an opportunity that comes in through somebody in your life, and then as we get later into Sunday, really over the weekend, there's maybe a lot of social time or social interactions that are happening, people you're meeting and opportunities that are coming through that. And but then later on Sunday, there's maybe something that's triggered emotionally around money as well, maybe related to what's been healing with your identity as it relates to your resources and having. So that is the energy of the week ahead for you, Virgo. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Okay, Libra Rising. We start the week off on Monday with the moon in Leo in your 11th house of community, friendships, your long term goals and visions. You might really be getting a lot of clarity on what you need long term to feel supported, to feel joyful, maybe from your community or with your community, maybe even with creative stuff that's happening related to social media or stuff like that. Maybe even with your money too. It's like this emotional need to have more joy and playful energy is challenging what's going on with your money, but it's also adding attention to what you're doing creatively. So there's kind of this like pressure cooker on Monday around all of those areas of your life. Um, and maybe you're trying to just figure out how to navigate all of it. And again, like the focus right now for you is on what are you doing creatively for money? Like, what are you making money in ways you want to be? And if not, how can you shift? How can you make a transformation so that you align with opportunities and ways of making money that really feel supportive to you and your vision and what you're really passionate about? There's this need to really do more of what you're passionate about right now, especially Monday and a little bit into Tuesday. And there could be something that you take action on around that on Monday as well, as the moon is going to harmonize with Mercury retrograde. That's now in your third house. Um, Mercury that's now retrograde in your third house, your area of how you share your ideas, how you share information, your communication styles. So there's going to be maybe a lot of momentum towards taking action on sharing something in a new way or sharing a lot of ideas and information related to what's changed about your how you want to make money and your creativity and passions that play into that. Also on Tuesday, Jupiter is now retrograde in your 10th house. So there's reevaluations around your career and your public image and reputation and what needs to be refined there in order to feel more supportive for you and the people that you are serving with your gifts and with your passions. On Wednesday, there is harmony between the moon and Chiron. So there could be something that is healing that comes in around a relationship or through somebody in your life. Maybe you meet somebody that really heals something about you or heals something about, again, that, okay, I get to align with joy. And the more I do, the more money I make kind of thing. But then later on Wednesday, there's tension between what's going on in your maybe social media or community and what's going on with your resources. But that's only going to be a temporary thing. And it might give you more clarity on, again, what you're doing for money and what changes you need to make there to align with things that really feel good to you. As we get into Thursday, the moon moves into Virgo into your 12th house. This is kind of an inward time. This is a time to really emotionally focus on your inner world and your subconscious. Things might come up emotionally that for you to shift, for you to see in order to make necessary changes. There could be something that's challenged on Thursday between what's going on in your inner world and what's going on with how you share yourself and how you share information. There could be a further emotional release on Friday around whatever that is as the moon moves over the south node in your subconscious and your inner world. There could be something you get clarity around through some sort of maybe like breakdown or you get clarity more so even maybe around these themes of um, being overly perfectionistic or overly critical of yourself and your work and like, no, I really just need to do what brings me joy, and that's it. That's like the secret sauce is what feels good to me. What do I want to share? What do I want to create? What do I want to put out to the world? That is what is going to do well. That is what is going to lead to my success versus trying to overanalyze in your head. It's never going to work. So there's this big emotional release around maybe a tendency to do that on Friday. And then as we get into Saturday, the moon adds tension to Saturn. So again, there's this need to release an overly perfectionistic tendency, and that could bring in more resources for you. That could because there's this inner world, this subconscious shift and breakthrough that occurs. It could be like you instantly receive something for what you're doing that you didn't expect because you just put it out into the world and you didn't overly analyze it before you did. Does that make sense? It's kind of like the universe showing you, yes, the more you just trust yourself and put it out there, and not worry about it being perfect or not, the more you're going to be seen and rewarded. Does that make sense? Then later on Saturday, the moon moves into your first house, and there's just an emotional renewal of you. There could be this emotional renewal of your energy, of your creativity, of your passions, of what, again, what you're doing, what you're sharing with the world. But then as we get later into Sunday, there could be something else that's triggered as it relates to what's going on in your relationships, that maybe kind of challenges you emotionally as well. But it also, I believe, is coming up to show you that you are handling things with relationships differently than you have been in the past. And it might show you how much you've grown and healed from an old version of you. So that is the week ahead for you, Libra. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. All right, Scorpio Rising. We start the week off with the moon moving into your 10th house, into Leo, your area of career. So, the start of the week for you is really going to be an emotional focus on what you're doing to bring you joy in your career. Are you doing something for money? Are you building a legacy for yourself that is related to what is fun for you to do? Is it related to your joy? And if not, what needs to change so that you are doing things that bring you joy in what you're doing for career and for money? This lighting is really weird. Hold on, sorry, y'all. I'm not in love with the lighting. Okay. What needs to change about what you're doing for career? Maybe it's related to your living situation or physically where you are. There's also something about that that's putting challenges, conflict on yourself and what's changed about your values and your self worth. Maybe you're stepping into a new version of yourself through all of this and you're realizing, like, yeah, no, I need to like change this about my roots, my foundations, maybe my house, my living situation, so that I do feel more aligned with what's going on in every other aspect of my life. Major changes to your foundations right now. Um, and that's affecting everything else, like a ripple effect. As we get into Tuesday, the moon adds harmony to what's going on in your money. And with Mercury retrograde happening in your area of money, there's this reevaluation and refinement to what you're doing for money, how you're making it, belief systems that are playing into your relationship with money. So the moon adds harmony to that Monday into Tuesday and maybe gives you more clarity on what needs to change, again, with your work, with career, with what's going on in those areas so that you, how do I say that? Like recalibrate to what's actually meant for you, what you actually want to be doing if what you have been doing doesn't line up with that. Like you really need to be known for what is fun, joyful, and playful to you. Tuesday as well, Jupiter goes retrograde in your ninth house is the reevaluation of your perspective of life, of maybe long distance travel stuff too, as it relates to that, or if it resonates. There's these reevaluations to your mindset, to your perspective of life, how you're viewing everything, and what's playing into all of that that feels supportive for you, it doesn't feel supportive for you. A lot of release this week for you, Scorpio. If you've needed it, this is the big week to really make some major changes and release some stuff that hasn't been supporting you in what you're doing. As we get into Wednesday, the moon is going to harmonize with Chiron in your area of work. So there could be something that's healed in you, or you're realizing maybe you're taking action on to heal, and it really you feel this big shift around it on Wednesday. But also later on Wednesday, the moon adds challenge to Uranus in your seventh house. There could be this reevaluation of changes within a relationship, or this could be any relationship, anybody else in your life that's not you. there's a reevaluation of changes you're making to who is around you now that Uranus is back in your seventh house. And on Wednesday, the moon is adding some challenge to that. So there could be this emotional kind of push and pull between what you're doing for work and your career and who is around you. Um, and the relationships you have supporting you or not. Again, kind of what needs to be let go of. As we get into Thursday, the moon moves into Virgo. It challenges Mercury retrograde in your area of money. So this could be some emotional tension between what you're reevaluating with money and your resources and what's going on um, in your community or what's going on in your long-term goals and visions that you need to really make shifts to at this time. And on Friday, there could be big emotional release around that as the moon moves over the south node. Maybe you're releasing some vision you had for yourself or some dream you had for yourself. You might be releasing a friendship or somebody, a relationship within your community or on social media that you're realizing just doesn't support where you're headed. Again, lots of changes in your direction happening. And so, what is coming up this week for you to really make releases around that support where you're going as opposed to repeating where you've been? Saturday, the moon moves into your area of subconscious. It moves into Libra. It harmonizes with Pluto in your area of home. There could be this further look at something that's changed in your inner world. There's a lot, I've been saying this over the past few weeks, as there's been so much activity in your areas of the inner world, of the subconscious, of childhood trauma and belief systems that come from that and all kinds of stuff. So there could be some more clarity around that and what maybe needs to shift at the subconscious level on Saturday. Maybe you're spending time with somebody that helps you release what you need as it relates to that as well. But then as we get into Sunday, there could be something that's brought up with your work or with a coworker or maybe about your health that triggers a deeper look at your subconscious as well. Again, the first half of the week is kind of on your outer world and what's going on around you. And then as we get into the weekend, it's like, okay, what do I need to look at within myself that was brought up by the things around me this week? Does that make sense? And then it does feel like a lot of internal shifts are supported as we end out the week and get into next week. So that's your week ahead, Scorpio. Let me know how it resonates in the comments. And I'll see you next week. Okay, Sagittarius Rising. We start the week off with the moon moving into Leo, into your area of belief systems, of long distance travel. You might be getting clarity more about your belief systems or more about your routine and what changes you need to make, maybe to your inner worlds. If you have overexerted yourself this past week, this is going to be the time where you like really reconnect back to yourself and you really look at, okay, what did I do that didn't bring me joy? What did I do that did? And how can I make more time to do what does bring me joy and kind of release the rest, like cut out the rest. And there might be this really big need to take action on doing that at the start of the week, especially now that Mercury is retrograde in your area of you, your sense of self. There might be a big reevaluation of you and how you're sharing yourself with the world. There could also be a lot of, you might need to have some physical movement practices this week in order to really like look at these emotions that are coming up from all of that. Like usually when we get angry with things or easily triggered by people around us, it's because we haven't spent enough time with ourselves filling up our own cup. So there might be this realization of like, okay, I really need to prioritize that. And how can I make space for that moving forward? On Tuesday, Jupiter goes retrograde in your area of resources, shared resources. You might be reevaluating again, what about, how you take care of yourself, how you nurture yourself, how you give to yourself, what needs reevaluation and refinement there? How can you maybe just do a better job of nurturing your inner world through spiritual practices or through really listening or cultivating a greater relationship with your intuition as well. As we get into Wednesday, we're going to have the moon challenging Uranus that's now back in your area of work. So there might be some things about your work and what you do for work, how you make money that you're reevaluating. Again, there could be the mindset shift that needs to happen in order to support that as well. On Wednesday, that you realize, yeah, some big, maybe subconscious belief that you're getting clarity about on Wednesday, in order to make those changes that are going to better support you and what you do for work. Later on Wednesday, the moon moves into Virgo, into your area of career and public image. It's going to challenge Wednesday into Thursday. It's going to challenge Mercury and Mars that are in your area of you right now. So there could be something about your career that you have to do, or you're pressuring yourself to do, or being overly critical about yourself, or kind of coming from this perfectionistic mindset of like, I have to do this, even though there's something about it that's challenging you, that maybe doesn't feel so good. So there could be some friction between your areas of work and your sense of self, your identity on Thursday, that maybe gives you more clarity about what in your work needs a release, or needs a reevaluation, or needs refinement. And you might get that clarity as we get into Friday, as the moon moves over the south node in your career. There could be this aha moment of like, okay, this is what I need to do differently in work in order to feel better about everything, in order to not get so easily drained, that kind of thing. It's like you get clarity about what needs to change, what innovations you need to make in your work and career, to ultimately better support yourself and your mental health. As we get into Saturday, the moon moves into Libra, into your 11th house. It harmonizes with Pluto in your area of communication, also of your day to day routine and how you're sharing ideas and information. So, this could be a kind of social weekend for you. You could be spending more time with people that are giving you clarity about how to move forward with all these changes you're realizing you want to make or need to make. Um, but there could be, kind of like a lot of momentum with who you're spending time around, who you're hanging out with. And that brings you more clarity, or maybe you have a conversation with somebody that helps you to realize, how to move forward with these things you're realizing you want to change. As we get into Sunday, there could be something that happens in your community, or maybe with social media, or a relationship that challenges some wound around creativity, or with dating, romance. However it applies, it could really challenge a kind of wound that's there. A lot of energy right now, Sagittarius, on in your inner world, on what's going on like underneath the surface. So a lot of subconscious healing is your focus right now. A lot of spending time with yourself is your focus right now, and journaling about things that come up instead of externalizing them or distracting yourself from looking at them. I mean, really, this time is to go within. Even if there is a lot of things going on with your social world or whatever, don't neglect yourself for that. So that's your week ahead. Let me know how it resonates with you in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Okay, Capricorn Rising, we start the week off with the moon moving into your area of resources. There could be an emotional focus on Monday with your money, with what's going on there. Maybe letting things go that don't bring you joy as it relates to how you make money or what you do with money. There's this emphasis on play. There's this emphasis on fun, emphasis on joy, creativity. What further changes are you realizing you need to make to what you do creatively, so that money flows better, because it follows when you're happy. It follows when you're doing things that bring you joy. So there might be this kind of clarity around how to do that, or how to make changes that are going to support that, at the start of the week. On Tuesday, we have Jupiter going retrograde in your area of relationships. There could be a reevaluation of who you're spending time around, or relationships in general, and really getting more clarity on, through refinement, through reassessment, on who around you needs, um, to either be released, or there needs to be a reevaluation of that relationship altogether, based around what is really going to support you, what is really going to feel the most nurturing to you. On Wednesday, the moon adds tension to the sun in your area of long-term goals and visions. So there could be this clarity from what came up earlier in the week of like, okay, I need to change this about my long-term goals or visions, or my relationship with social media maybe, or community or friendships, related to like what is going to bring me joy with how I make money and how I bring that in for myself. Also, the moon is challenging later on Thursday. Uranus, it's now in your fifth house again. So what needs to change as it relates to what you do creatively, what is passionate for you, and how can you do more and share more of that, because it's going to positively benefit your money and your resources. Also on Wednesday, Mercury and Mars join up in your area of the inner world, of the subconscious. So there could be this clarity around a mindset shift that's playing into all of this as well. Then as we get into Wednesday into Thursday, actually, the moon moves into Virgo, into your area of perspective, your area of long-term travel, but also your philosophies of life and how you're viewing everything. So there could be a lot of clarity Wednesday into Thursday on, again, those subconscious beliefs that are playing into your experience of life and maybe what needs to change about them, so that you have and live the life you really feel truly aligned with. There could be a major release emotionally around that on Friday as the moon moves over the south node, and there could be this realization of like, okay, these are the practices I really need to be disciplined with in order to not forget what I just realized again. As we get into Saturday, the moon moves into your area of career. There's this focus on what you're doing for work. There's this focus on maybe spending time with people to build your career, or make more money in some way. Or maybe there's this creative inspiration, this renewal of creativity and inspiration as it relates to what you're doing for your work, and wanting to share more things and feeling more inspired because you really looked deeply at something that maybe was kind of blocking the flow of energy in some way. As we get into Sunday, the moon will be in your area of career, but adding tension to Chiron in your fourth house, there could be some thing that comes up within your home or family that triggers something. But I do feel like it's going to give you more emotional clarity about what's been coming up for you and how to move forward with it, in maybe making necessary adjustments to your kind of day to day or your long term visions and goals, in order to align with what you're realizing you want moving forward. So that's the week ahead for you, Capricorn. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Okay, Aquarius Rising. We start the week off on Monday with the moon moving into Leo, into your area of relationships. It is adding tension to Pluto, that's been in your area of you. Your sense of self is going through a deep transformation. And on Monday, there's something about a relationship that could put pressure on that. And also, both are challenging something about what's going on in your career. Maybe your values are changing with career, or how much money you want to make is changing. And so you're realizing you need to make necessary changes to your career. But it feels like it's challenging your sense of self, and it also may be challenging something about a relationship. It doesn't have to be romantic. It could be literally anybody in your life, but there is something emotionally that somebody in your life is emotionally triggered, or they emotionally trigger you on Monday, and it's related to the changes you're realizing you want to make in these other areas of your life. As we get into Tuesday, Jupiter goes retrograde in your area of work. So again, what are you realizing needs to change about your work or career, what you're doing to make money, that you're realizing you need to really take the leap on and step into and trust that it's all going to work out. There could also be Tuesday into Wednesday, some mindset shift that comes up in order for you to look at differently, to have more faith in these changes you're wanting to make, and maybe just kind of like let them unfold in divine timing. Don't feel like you have to rush it. Like you can get the clarity and not create more chaos for yourself by acting on it right away. Like just wait for things to kind of unfold, um, instead of maybe acting impulsively. Now that Mercury is retrograde in your area of long-term visions and goals, it's kind of like, okay, slow down, reevaluate what you want to do moving forward. Not necessarily act right away, even though you might feel like you want to act. Um, Trust in your divine timing and flow, and really listen to your intuition, for when to make these changes, because there's energy to do it spontaneously, but that might not be the best for you depending on what exactly is going on. As we get into Wednesday, the moon in Leo will harmonize with Chiron in your area of routine, of your area of communication, how you share ideas and information. There could be something that really, somebody in your life could help you heal a wound related to that on Wednesday. But then there could be something that is challenging that happens emotionally with your home or with family on Wednesday as well. And maybe just, again, I really feel like you're getting clarity on, okay, I want to do this, but don't spontaneously act on it. Like, follow your authority in human design for when to do the thing, because it feels like there's going to be stuff that comes up later in the week that you're like, oh, I'm so glad I didn't act on that right away. Yeah, again, just really trust in your divine timing. Um, Wednesday into Thursday, we have the moon moving into your area of other people's resources. So there might be this focus on organizing debt, taxes, investments. There could also be emotional release of a tie to an investment, or emotional release of some mindset that you've had with money. Again, it's like as the week goes on, you're getting more clarity about, how to kind of do ABCD, but I just keep getting for you, like, don't act on things yet. Um, Wait for Mars to move away from Mercury is the energy, because it feels like it could create more chaos than is going to be good for you if you act right away. Um, and then I feel like over the weekend you're going to get clarity, because Friday we have the moon harmonizing with Uranus that's now back in your fourth house. This could relate to a move. This could relate to something in your inner world coming up that needs to shift also. Maybe like something about your structures or your mindset. Yeah, because then on Saturday we're going to have the moon move into Libra, into your area of perspective, and this kind of feels like more clarity, more inspiration around making the changes. Like maybe you reconnect with somebody and you have that conversation of like, okay, I'm actually thinking I want to do this now, and they give you some like really helpful advice or feedback or something, and you're like, oh, that is a good idea. But it's like, if you had acted on it earlier in the week, you wouldn't have gotten this good advice or whatever. You know what I mean? So like, please just have a little patience with your process, because I do feel like the answers are coming, the clarity is coming, but it's like, just give it some space and time to unfold how it's supposed to. Um, yeah, and then on Sunday there could be something that is triggered in your day to day, something that's triggered emotionally. Again, to further kind of have you look at and refine your mindset as it relates to these changes you're making and how you want to move forward with them. So that's what we had for you, Aquarius. Let me know how it resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. All right, Pisces Rising. We start the week off with the moon moving into Leo in your area of work and physical health. There's this tension, this tug of war on Monday between your physical health and your mental health, and this need to really balance them. And this focus on, how do you do that with joy? How do you do that with fun and playful energy? What is going to bring you the most feeling of fun with how you do that? Both of those things are challenging. Venus, that's in your area of perspective, of maybe long distance travel. So it kind of feels like there's maybe something you need to ground into your routine to better take care of your physical and mental health, and maybe have this like, maybe meditate. Maybe it's meditation, or maybe it's yoga. Like, you really need to have this practice to ground yourself um, through all the changes that are happening for you or coming up that you want to make. As we get into Tuesday, Jupiter goes retrograde in your area of creativity. So you might be reevaluating your creative projects or passions, and which ones really support you versus which ones feel like a drain, and what needs to change there so that you're aligned with, again, what brings you joy, and doing things that really feel fun and nurturing and supportive for you versus things that you feel like you have to do. Like, no, delegate it or stop doing it. It's like, really only focus on what brings you joy and what brings you fun. Now that Mercury is retrograde in your area of career, there's this reevaluation and refinement happening with your career and how you go about it, how you share ideas, information. maybe even something about your belief system is changing as it relates to career also. As we get into Wednesday, the moon is challenging Uranus. That is now back in your area of day to day routine of how you're sharing ideas and communicating yourself to the world. There's a lot changing about maybe your internal communication to yourself, even is changing a lot. And that's changing how you communicate outwardly. But it starts from the inward focus, it starts from how you communicate to yourself, and then being able to change how you communicate to those around you or in your work or in your career. There could be something about that on Wednesday that receives some sort of healing or like this clearance of heavy energy. But also, there's something that happens within your work that challenges your ability to speak up for yourself. It maybe helps you to realize how much you have changed your communication styles, and maybe matured in a lot of ways as well. Later on Wednesday, the moon moves into your area of relationships. There's this emotional focus on the people around you, maybe making refinements. There, maybe something comes up in your career, challenging conversation, and you realize you need to like stop spending time with somebody or something like that. Or, like I said, delegate or take something off your plate because it really doesn't serve you anymore. More clarity could come around that later on Thursday as the moon moves over the south node in your area of relationships, and there's an emotional release as it relates to somebody in your life. Doesn't have to be romantic. This is anybody that's not you. So there is this big emotional release, of maybe of somebody in your life or just how you handle that somebody in your life. Then as we get into Friday, the moon is harmonizing with Uranus in your area of day to day routine. So you might, because of this, or just because of what you're reevaluating with yourself or with your day to day stuff, like there's maybe this change in your routine, or again, this change in like your habits, your practices that you're doing that are really helping you to ground, and not feel so scattered with all of this just change and refinement and chaos. Like externally, it's like, okay, what can you do internally to have a solid foundation, and not get swept up in the waters of chaos? It's like you really need to have some sort of discipline with your spiritual practices or something that's going to ground you and help you stay centered through everything else. As we get into the weekend, Saturday, the moon moves into Libra and harmonizes with Pluto in your area of subconscious. So there's a lot of focus over the weekend on your inner world. Maybe what's shifting about debt, taxes, and investments, inheritances, resources that it plays into, um, these mindset shifts and everything else that's happening underneath the surface. It's like really, how do I say it? You're navigating these inner waters, um, of yourself. I don't even know if that makes sense, but it's like you're getting a lot of clarity about that and maybe how that's been creating these patterns or playing into these patterns that you don't want to keep, have repeating in your life. And then on Sunday, it feels like there's some sort of emotional tension, between your areas of money that's maybe brought up through a wound. Again, this kind of deep subconscious look again at what's going on in your inner world that's maybe playing into these patterns, that you're experiencing on the outside world. Does that make sense? I also feel like there's a lot of momentum this week towards changing something about your creative passions, how you're expressing yourself, how you're sharing yourself with the world. That's maybe brought up and reassessed through spending more time with yourself and having these grounding practices that help you to do that. So that's the week ahead for you, Pisces. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. All right, I love y'all. Have a wonderful week. Remember that retrogrades are not bad. They're just reevaluations, okay? But let me know in the comments how this resonated with you. That's so funny. And I'll see you next week. Bye.